So, as a hotelier, I can't do anything in my individual hotel, but I should be encouraging, obviously, corporate office to make sure that they have probably got a team behind this, right?
Hmm. Yeah, they should. Understand this is core tech, right? So this is core tech that is just about in certain companies getting into V1 or into limited deployment. So Microsoft is a good example, right? As one of the biggest companies. So Microsoft is if you go to Azure today, you can spin up a DID, you can use verifiable credentials. They have a layer 2 identity network called Ion that sits over Bitcoin blockchain. I mean, they're serious about this, right? Yeah. And they're serious, and they participate in all the standards organizations. They're really helping move it forward. Probably the most sort of recognizable big company, but there's hundreds of others out there that are participating. So it's early days. Core tech takes time to get out and become the V1 product that rolls off a production line of some hospitality vendor that you know about. But if you are in a hospitality vendor, and I'll give you a hospitality and travel vendor, if you're in the business of producing technology, or you are a reasonable early adopter of technology, you want to see advantage here, absolutely you should be looking at what's going on, trying to understand what's going on. And that's really the role of the hospitality and travel SIG under DIF. Yes. Our role is to be that fulcrum between the hospitality and travel community and the identity community that's head down building the core tech. And to give you an example of what I mean about being interested, well, we've already talked about today, a reservation is going to change, right? The hotel app that you have almost certainly would benefit from being a skin on top of a wallet. And by the way, the wallets provide an SDK for you to do that. Why would they benefit from that? Because it's the same, your airline is a skin over the same wallet because It's accessing the same information, right? The other competitive hotel brand is a skin over the same wallet because it's accessing the same information. That makes sense, right? What about something like, let's talk about other types of verifiable credentials. How about a access control and digital door key, right? Okay, so you will know, I think, because you will have experience of this, of the miserable penetration of digital mobile key today.
Yeah.
Right? Miserable percentages are using it because it's too hard.
Yes.
And it doesn't work. One hotel is different from another, and different hotels have different, in the same brand, it works differently. It doesn't work because the technology is too damn complicated. It requires quite often a lift and shift to make it work. And it requires an app download. It's built on BLE. And, for the one night, only night customer, that's the majority customer for the hotels, they have no incentive to download an app. Why the hell should we? They just want to sleep in a bed, right? But in so doing, you disadvantage your 5% of your loyal customers because they come back every single time and they have to put up with the same technology inadequacies that the other 95% are happy to sort of put up with because they're never going to come back, right? But the person's coming back every week saying, oh, why do I have to put up with this? This is really bad. It doesn't work. So, access control as a verifiable credential makes all the sense in the world.
It does, yeah.
Right? All the sense in the world. And just as a simple example, and it will happen. I'm absolutely convinced it will happen. So those are the kind of things that you should be looking out for. What's going on? Certainly tune into what are governments doing? Every government has a position somehow on this. Your government, not Australia, but I mean your audience, every one of the governments represented here, they have an interest, they have an understanding, they have published things, they are participating, they find out that information. And ask your vendors, what are you doing? Yes. Right? What are you doing? Why shouldn't you be able to use, for example, customer information? So let's just say you want to store customer information in your hotel systems, right? What identifier are you going to use? Right? Why not use a DID as a first-party identifier?
Yep.
Then I don't have to worry about Brendan's 20 different email addresses and try and work out a combination of your credit card and your mobile phone number and your expired Amex card and I've got your did.
Yep.
Right. It's a unique, globally unique, forever private key to you. Why the heck would I want to use anything else? So ask your PMS vendor if they're going to, or your customer CRM company or whatever, what are they doing? Because it will impact them, and beneficially if they understand it. And it will absolutely change the world of loyalty. And it will offer, if you're an intermediary, right, it will offer in some ways a risk, because you have the opportunity for business to be direct, right, peer to peer.
Yes.
I don't actually need a travel intermediary. If I know which hotel I'm going to, I just, instruct my digital agent to use the information. I say, this is what I want, a hotel and estate, and here's my information. Thank you very much. And I receive it all back, and it appears in my calendar, and I'm done. I don't need to use an intermediary, right, where I've parked certain information about me and my credit card. It's all with me, and I can press a button and it's done, right? But that same intermediary may, or a different intermediary may see the opportunity of becoming the identity provider for travel and hospitality.
Yep.
Right? Where they don't have access to the information. I might store my information with them. So they might stand up a blockchain, and they might have a decentralized stack, and they might have data stores and all that kind of stuff. But don't forget, the information is private to me. They can't see it, right? Unless I give them access. But what they might do is simply store it and provide the plumbing to connect up travel providers to create an ecosystem. So instead of becoming an identity provider, instead of becoming an intermediary and thinking of the primary role of the intermediary as the shop front of product that's available,
yep,
right, think of the actual very valuable role that they provide in a very sort of real sense is a place to store just the information about me that I need to be able to buy something quickly, press a button and go. Think about doing that across travel, and think about doing that, parking behind that the capability to for the individual to store privately encrypted personal information in that place that's not visible and usable to that identity intermediary, but is usable when allowed to be passed through to travel providers, and being that conduit. That, I think, is a real business next wave, next phase, next 10 years, next 15 years business construct here for travel and hospitality.
Definitely. And I read the use case as well, Nick, just thinking about it now. In some ways, it may give a bit of strength to the OTAs that if they know that Nick belongs to Hilton, Marriott, Hyatt, and the Automobile Association, and you ask to make a reservation, for a particular city for a certain number of nights, they could take any one of those credentials and basically come back and find you the best rate at any of those hotels.
They could.
Yeah, which is something
they actually could
be quite powerful. At the moment, even if you search on an OTA, they don't know anything about, well, they may allow you to put one loyalty in, but not multiple. So
correct, they may do, and they certainly don't know that I'm a frequent Carrefour customer or a Tesco customer, or my car is a Tesla or whatever. Exactly. So this is the world that we're in. What's the difference between e-commerce on Amazon and e-commerce on a retailer, and e-commerce in a travel scenario?
Yeah.
We as hospitality and travel people are digital retailers of hospitality and travel experiences. And this is an enabling technology to make that work for us.
Something that I picked up on, that probably the biggest shift in my mind, is that we've been on a quest for years. I remember going to high tech in the 80s and everybody talking about having as much loyalty data on their guest as possible. You're now saying that is completely redundant, and you're right, because it's all out of date. Rather than having to store that, the guest will provide it the most up-to-date information. They will share it with you when they need to. That's brilliant.
With every interaction. And let me be very clear what I'm saying here. I'm not suggesting that this is a technology that could and should be implemented for all your customers. What I'm simply saying is the obvious place for it to start is your best customers.
Yep.
And in a future world where your government or somebody, everybody is carrying this technology, then yes, of course, it can be made available for all your customers. But if you want to do something different, if you want to actually compete with an OTA who's simply using, the Bookings or Expedias of the world, every week they're staying in the same hotel, and they're just, for the convenience, because everything's there, pressing book my favorite hotel, because they can't be bothered to go to your hotel site, then this is the technology that you should be putting in place, because you can make a world of difference for that customer.
Perfect. Okay.